Good morning, everybody. And first of all, I thank Professor Rath for inviting me to this meet. Though, as Dr. Tanveer has introduced, it was late 80s in India or early 80s. I joined with the discoverer of HPV, Joe Hausen, and then in India it came late 80s, we started HPV in India, and we came to know that HPV is one of the major factors that causes cervical cancer. And the previous two talks has helped me because it overlaps. Majority things have been covered, and Dr. Rath, what he said is right, and you all know that the cervical cancer, among all cancer, it is coming down. And that's a good information. That's why my studies in earlier days was all concentrated on epidemiology and other factors, how it causes. And there are a huge number of publications and there are a huge number of groups developed in India. But then, as it is coming down because of the awareness, cleanliness, and many other things, which was just now discussed whether genital hygiene is important. But it is a cofactor because any infection, the hygiene is very important, and that could be considered, but it has certainly not shown in a control experiment or the study that taking that variables, that infection or the hygiene alone is contributing to that. So that's true also. But what has made me to that I am not very much in the epidemiological studies, but vaccine is still there. But gone too much, I want to just give the recent or the future perspective. That's why I'm just telling 1 minute that we have gone much further and going to being not a clinical scientist or a medical scientist, but a basic scientist. So I have gone through to the much the in-depth studies to now it has come at the stage of that how you go for a relapse-free survival of the cancer patients. That as every time Dr. Rath mentioned that 70-80% of the cancers they come at the late stages. That's true for cervical cancer. So we are looking for how relapse-free survival is possible. There you have gone to the molecular techniques that you might be coming into, though you are all on clinics, but then you know that it has got molecular, that there is a genome editing, and there are that curcumin, which prevents HPV infections or clears HPV infections. The clinical trial we have shown, but now it has made in the exosomes that the intercellular vesicles, which we put the curcumin, nanocurcumin into that and used as a topical use. That will be more effective than simple curcumin, and this is one of the BRICS projects running at this moment. And then there are genome editing, that you find a gene responsible for relapse, and then you edit that and then put it inside deliver to the patients. So these are the recent developments, but I am just telling this thing because of the fact that many of the things will be repetition here. Though there is a topic screening and prevention that touches also HPV vaccinations. So we know that the HPV is the major cause of cervical cancer, and there are types. I will not just skip that. This is a recent 2010 slides that where earlier slide which Dr. Rath showed, it has changed that you have the So you have the 60% prevalence of HPV 16, and this is a biological behavior of the HPV infection and cervical cancer from normal to So what is this slide shows that the you can see that there is a 10-year shift in the prevalence of the HPV infection in India as compared to the US. You see 18 to 25 years, but here in India it is 25 to 35 years or 26 to 35 years where the HPV infection picks up. And this is the picture of the prevalent genotypes in Indian situations. All the till 2015 it has been included, all the data, and it is 65 to 90% of the HPV 16, which is the exclusive prevalence, and 18 is 3 to 20%, and others are 45, 33, 35, 52, 58, 59, and 73. And these are the control strategies. I will not go into that the prevention, you know all these tests, HPV DNA test, hybrid capture, and care HPV. Recently there is a HPV miRNA testing, E6 and E7, and then GeneXpert HPV test is also being done. And the main is there are many other herbal products and many other agents like including the curcumin and proneem and carrageenan. All these things are used as a topically used for prevention of HPV infections. The primary prevention is by HPV vaccine, and two major vaccines you all know, I need not to go. But then there are recent vaccines, is 9-valent vaccines, and this has already been talked about. I may not go into all these details, but then the important thing to note here is that if it is a initiating within 9 to 14 years time, then it can be 2 doses are sufficient, and the 1 dose and at 6 months, or 1 dose in the beginning and 6 months, at 6 months or 12 months is the second dose, and that is equally effective than your 3 days where 15 to 26 years the individuals are given, or the girls are given, or the lady. That this is what is so what is the population, target population? It is the 19 to 14 years, certainly the younger age people, where you have just seen that if it is given in the younger age, 2 doses is sufficient. Also it is coming, single dose is also now known, but if you go for the more than that, then you need to have 9 to 26 years. It is also now recommended that it can go to up to 40, 45 years, but certainly you need to do this testing of the HPV before that, as it is happens in the hepatitis B virus. So vaccine efficacy is available in the vaccines. It is all known that it is vaccine is very promising because it's highly immunogenic, and it has been again NSN, and in June 2013 in Japan, that the adverse, that is one thing is very important, and just recently paper is in the press. I was the reviewer of that, the journal, that there is adverse effects. It's just not negligible, but these adverse effects are not immediately within a year or 2. It is coming much later. But there is not a lot more study is needed, epidemiologic study, that what exactly it has really in relation to the vaccines or not, that needs to be proved. Certainly there are effects as the time passes, more times, up to 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, there is at least up to 5-year study. They see that the reporting to the practitioner, general practitioners, but that is to be confirmed whether going to the just practitioner doesn't mean that it is related to the vaccine, but they are vaccinated people as compared to the non-vaccinated. But one has to look at it, more further studies. So vaccine efficacies are all known. They have the cross protection, also several HPV types are cross protected, that 45, 35, 52, that is known mostly from the Cervarix. You can see Cervarix, less is for the Gardasil, and vaccine efficacies I can extend that there are, it has been reported that up to 8.5 years, but now it is almost 10 to 12 years that they are efficacious till now. But we need to see that in the future also, whether you need a booster dose or not. So what is the outcome of this vaccine is that the potential about 70% of the cancers are preventable by HPV vaccination. There also exists cross-reactivity of HPV types, all these 33 and 45 and 31 vaccines containing and HPV 1611 have been shown to highly effective against genital warts. Then Gardasil is for the males. It can be used also for the males. The oropharyngeal cancers also for the some of the oral cancers, and it can be vaccinated with the virus. The males can be also vaccinated with that. So these are the outcome of the HPV vaccines. What is the Indian scenario? There is one study was done, and this is 330, and that's from the initially seropositive, that was Nirja Butler studies from here only. And there are all the problems that the human papillomavirus vaccine delivery strategies in the demonstration projects by the PATH, and that is in the Khammam district and Andhra and the Gujarat. So that problem, 6 people, 6 girls died, and there I don't go into all these details, but then it was proved that that is not related to the really with the vaccines, but certainly there was something, some other reasons they died, but it is now slowly being proved in that in Danish population it has been done, in Japanese populations, that vaccinated population, that there is a side effects, adverse effects in the later times, but one has to prove that whether it is true or not. This PATH studies, and this is recently the study by Senapati et al. In 2017 from Orissa and Eastern Orissa, that there is a post-vaccination surveillance, and total of 440 cases includes invasive cervical carcinoma and inflammatory smears and normal cytology, and the most prevalent genotype was 87%, and HPV-18 was 24%, and 51 was 3% or 3.5%, and the impact of the bivalent, 4-valent, tetravalent, and 9-valent vaccines in preventing cervical cancer is 89% respectively, and 91% and 92%. When you give the 9-valent, it is more protection. So this is a recent study, 2017, published in the BMC Infectious Diseases from Odisha, Senapati et al. And this immunogenicity of the infections, 1, 2, or 3 doses of the, and when it is Shankar Narayan study at the Tata Memorial, as you all know, that the 1 dose is proved to be the higher, it is equivalent to the 2 or 3 doses. So I will not go into detail, there will be not much time now. So I will, that a single dose of HPV vaccine providing strong and sustained protection against HPV infections in the long term is the best way to overcome the barriers of the vaccines uptake globally. So this is proof that the 1 dose will be sufficient. Second generation vaccines, I will just quickly summarize these things, that, but there is a recent one that it's a recent 2017 paper where it shows the conjunction with the co-injection of the IL-2 DNA enhances E7 specific anti-tumor immunogenicity elicited by intravaginal therapeutic HPV DNA vaccination by electroporations. I will not go into the detail. They have taken the IL-2 DNA and a construct of E7 specific anti-tumor E7 specific construct, and that they have been injected in the site by the intravaginal injections, and that has led to the electroporation methods, and that has led to the protection against, that is therapeutic when they are already in the carcinoma stage. There is also Pentarix novel, the broad-based the therapeutic vaccines directed against E7 protein from 5 of the most prevalent high-risk types, and they have taken CD8 T-cell immunity and TLRR, that I will not go into all these details. His conclusion is that important develop indigenous vaccine. So they develop indigenous HPV vaccine prevention will require vaccines that entail future doses.
Thank you, Dr. Das.